Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your household income and thought to yourself, we make good money, so why does it still feel tight? Maybe both you and your spouse are working full time. The paychecks are coming in consistently. You're responsible. You pay your bills. You try to save when you can. And on paper, everything should feel comfortable. But somehow, the month still feels rushed financially. You're watching the account balance. You're moving money from one place to the another. You're thinking twice before saying yes to certain things. And when something unexpected happens, like a car repair or a medical bill or a school expense, it suddenly feels heavier than it should. And maybe in the back of your mind, you ever wondered, why does this still feel hard when we're working so much? If you've ever had that thought, I want you to know something. You are not alone. I talk to so many families who are hardworking, responsible, and doing their best, and they still feel like their finances are constantly under pressure. And the reason often isn't what people think. It's not usually because they're irresponsible, and it's not usually because they don't earn enough. And what I see much more often are small hidden money leaks that slowly drain the household without anyone really noticing them. And today I want to walk through a few of those with you, because once you start seeing them, your finances start to make a lot more sense. And when things start making sense, that's when the real change becomes possible. One of the most common money leaks in two-income household is something called lifestyle expansion. And this happens very gradually. It doesn't usually happen because someone is being reckless with money. It happens because life naturally grows, like income increases, your careers, they progress, families start to grow, responsibilities grow. And as those things grow, expenses slowly grow with them. Maybe the house gets a little bigger. Maybe the car gets upgraded. Maybe the kids start participating in more activities. Maybe the grocery bill increases as the family grows. Maybe convenience becomes more valuable because both parents are busy. None of those things are bad. In fact, many of them are completely reasonable. But here's what tends to happen. Each of those decisions make sense individually. Yet when you add them together over time, something subtle occurs. Your income grows, but your margin doesn't. And that's an important distinction because many families are earning more than they did 5 or 10 years ago, but they don't necessarily feel more secure. They don't necessarily feel more peace because their lifestyle expanded right alongside their income. And when that happens, even a good income can start to feel stretched. There's another money leak that I see very often when working families, and I call this exhaustion spending. When two adults are working full time and managing a household, life gets busy very quickly. There are work schedules, there's school schedules, there's activities, there's appointments, there's household responsibilities. And by the end of a long day, people are tired. So naturally, certain convenience starts showing up. Maybe it's ordering takeout instead of cooking. Maybe it's grabbing a quick meal during the week. Maybe it's paying for services that save time, and maybe it's small purchases that simply make life easier in the moment. Again, none of these things are wrong. They're very understandable. But the challenge is that small convenience purchases can quietly add up. $5 here, $20 here, $30 somewhere else. And because they happen in small moments throughout the month, they often go unnoticed. Yet over the course of a year, those small decisions can add up to thousands of dollars. And that's one reason households sometimes feel financially tight, even when income is strong. So before we go further, if this conversation is resonating with you and you're realizing that what your finances might really need is more structure and clarity, I actually created a free training where I'll walk through a simple framework that helps families organize their money in a way that brings more peace and confidence. If you like to watch that and get a little bit more deeper, you can find that link below this video. Now let's keep going because there's another important factor that many families don't think about. One of the biggest reasons money feels so stressful is sometimes I call it financial fog. Financial fog happens when money is constantly moving through the household, but there isn't like a clear picture of where everything is going. Income comes in, bills get paid, expenses happen throughout the month, and everything just sort of blends together. People often describe this feeling as constantly trying to stay ahead. They're paying the bills, they're handling the responsibilities, but they're not always sure where things truly stand financially. And that lack of clarity creates that tension, not necessarily loud tension, but quiet tension in the background. Questions like, are we saving enough? Where did that money go? Or why does this still feel tight? Like, we're making this money, we have enough coming in. Like, why does it still feel there's pressure? And those thoughts create that mental pressure. And that pressure starts to build over time. And what many families really want isn't complicated financial strategies. They want clarity, simple and clear. And if you're someone that approaches life through faith, the idea of clarity and stewardship actually connects deeply with what scripture teaches about money. There's a verse in the Bible from Proverbs 27:23 that says, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds." Now, when that verse was written, people's wealth was often measured in livestock. So their flocks and herds represented their resources. But the principle behind that verse still applies today. The idea is that we are meant to be aware of the resources God has entrusted to us, to know where they are, to manage them wisely, to steward them with care. And that's really what financial organization is all about. It's not about perfection. It's about stewardship. It's about being intentional with what we've been given. So when finances begin to have structure, something powerful happens. Money stops feeling chaotic. Decisions become clearer. Stress begins to decrease. And instead of constantly reacting to money situations, families begin making decisions with confidence. And that shift alone can bring a tremendous amount of peace into a household. So if this conversation helped you see your finances a little differently, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I share content like this every week about simplifying finances and helping families create more peace and clarity around money. And if you know someone who might benefit from hearing this perspective, feel free to share this video with them. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one area of spending you're going to take a closer look at this week? Maybe it's convenience spending, maybe it's subscriptions, maybe it's simply reviewing where your money went last month. Write that in the comments below. Small awareness leads to powerful change. And taking the first small step often starts building the momentum families have been looking for. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.